You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Good morning, everyone. You're listening to Turtle Island News with Tracey Kennedy, live on Will Spirit Radio, TurtleIslandNews.info, the Awake Radio Group, of course, Revolution Radio Studio A, and Scottish Sovereigns on the Land, People for the People. So, I wish you to immediately say a prayer for me, because if I get through a quarter of the information I got ready for you, it'd be a frickin' miracle. But at least we could say that we have witnessed a miracle. I have to start off with this, other than hello everybody, and thanks for riding with me once again. In any good spell or chess game, you have to start off with a statement of intent, either a thought or a play. The intent of opening this gate, these gates that have already been opened, I think, is to pick a side, right? You always have to pick a side. This large event started in 1776 by the declaration of the New Atlantis. This year, surprisingly, is 5,776 Anno Lucius, in the Year of Light, that begins officially September 14th, 2015, which is in the new remade version of the Jewish calendar, made around 500 AD, as they've changed everything. It's also called the return of the goddess, or the angels of light. This is also the year of the Danu, which I thought was pretty cool because it's the year of the Bennu, Egyptian, Danu, Celtic. Isn't that awesome? Tiwatha, Didanan. Children of Dan. Surprisingly, Irish myth, which they robbed, and her children are there. And it probably explains the big hate that was put into the Bible about the horrible children of Dan and why the Irish were so heavily attacked. Not always, but recently we must admit it's been pretty nasty. Irish goddess that also goes to the Vedic tales of the children of Danu. It's interesting, it's nice to know people actually listen to my show and just don't fall asleep. Get sent a little article from one of our brothers, Ibrahim Wilson. May Allah always be pleased with him. And this is how he starts it off, which I thought was really, really cool. So may Allah cause us to destroy our egos. Ameen. May Allah guide us if Christianity be the truth. Ameen. May Allah guide us if Islam be the truth. Ameen. See, they don't hate you. This whole hating thing started recently. But know that in the Bible, even the stepped-on thing that we have right now, there are 23 books mentioned but not put in. 23 is interesting. Only 22 are specifically mentioned, but it's interesting. I won't quibble over the number. so much. Not yet. The first is the Book of the Covenants, mentioned in Exodus 24:7. And he took the books of the covenant and read in the audience of the people. Next, the Book of the Wars of the Lord. Numbers, interestingly enough, 21:14. And therefore it is said in the Book of the Wars of the Lord, what he did in the Red Sea will be done again. Book of Jasher. Jasher and Enoch, I understand completely why that did not make the cut. And it's not because our brothers and sisters who follow Christianity are afraid of anything. It's because this was never meant to be read by them in the modern age or anyone else. They are the key, though, to really understanding what's going on right now. Right now in this modern world. They speak of the mixing of DNA between animals and humans and provoking a Lord. It tells of Enoch, who the watchers ask to plead their case to the Lord himself because they could no longer speak to him for what they had done on earth. It's referenced in the book of Jude. Apparently the biggest mystery of all time. Why they had kept these things from one of the original sacred books, which I think we all had. Why, although somewhat changed, we have this word, Danu or Benu, all over. This is the ancient bird. This is a goddess. This is what they call Leb, what I've called Leb. They even have Benu, actually, in Zulu, several West African tribes, and of course the Dogon. Now the legend here is very interesting because it is the history of the phoenix, the rebirth, the rejuvenation. These birds are also the sun, so the soul are also looked at as a mother. So rather than being born from any other creature, which is interesting in the stories that I've told you, who both underwent death and became symbols of regeneration, this Benu is different. This Danu is different. Even the tribe of Dan, if you go into the great mystery of it, it's different. It means purple Huron and palm tree of life, if you will, the original being, the pre-Adamo, who was split. It is a temple of the god Sun, supposedly at Heliopolis, which was revered by the Egyptians and many. It's a sacred mountain, which once again, Heliopolis is Mount Hermon. We did not fall. We walked. We stepped down off the throne. It's a feature, of course. And we've just had what they called an asteroid crossing in April that they named Bennu. It is a symbol of Osiris reborn. It is the heart of Osiris. We were supposedly, or she was supposedly sprung from the heart of Osiris himself, the symbol of the original God. And it renewed itself. Bennu is thought to have originated, well, there's arguments, as there always is. But could be Phoenicia, meaning phoenix, and I think it's one of those times that we had this everywhere. The names of this bird, this being, these people, are always derived from Ben, meaning accession or to rise. It is also the bird of the crossing. Many descriptions, colors, and types of birds that look to her. But in the Book of the Dead, specifically, it talks about angels. It talks about the renewal of your soul, specifically. It talks of the year of her return. Interestingly enough, kind of looks like it's this year. Now again, to cast or play a game, each side must choose a color, right? Pick a side. To really get deep into the game, the two towers must fall, or the rooks. One set must always be destroyed. Much like the two towers in the 9/11. Once the queen is out of the way, hang on, the false prophet or the bishop rises. When the bishop rises, if it's fought strong enough, hard enough, bishop or even a pawn can become a queen. Things change. You never know who's going to take charge of this. Know what I mean? And I told you before that the elite are waiting for 88 constellations above to line up what they have planned below. And it's all about timing. Always is. And the dates and the missiles and the lies that they can create. Always about that, right? Now, a woman being granted wings of an eagle and the milestone, even the IT, Illuminati, Italimuli. It just means it. Like the clown It. Did you guys see that? It is very scary. I'll play you some pieces, and it's, of course, one idea of it. The opening of the 1X, X1 door. This, again, is Jane Helm. Is actually scheduled for September 23rd, 2015. Yeah, I'm freaking throwing down the date. This is the date when the bishop, the Pope, Francis, and Barack meet together at the White House. It points to the 10th day of the year of Lucifer. We can look at Lucifer as the angel of light, or one of the angels of light, or a new demonic presence, since they've already opened the gate, and not all gates should be opened. It is a resolution, though, that officially started September 11th, 2001. A Sham-Ita year, by the way, when chaos was unleashed, when the world underwent a systematic restructurization. This is the crossing date, of course. The anticipated time of the Great Illumination. So, the book of the wars of the Lord, the manner of the kingdom, and the book of statutes, the book of Samuel the seer, Nathan the prophet, the Acts of Solomon, Shemiah the prophet, the prophecy of Ajib, or Ajiba, depending on how you say it. There's no letter J, so we don't have the exact how to pronounce these things. Certainly it was not Jasser either. The story of Prophet Edo, the visions of Edo the seer, Edo chronologies. Edo was pretty freaking important to be mentioned so many times in the Bible, except, of course, ripped away. The book of Jehu, which is probably Danu, but I'm stretching. No J again. The saying of the seers, the book of Enoch, the book of Gad, the seer. The epistle to Corinth, mentioned in Corinthians, that's it. The epistle to Ephenes, I think, also missing, but it's in Ephenes, mentioned once. The epistle from Laodicea to the Colossians, missing. And when I say missing, it's most likely in the Vatican, but the Nazis have it. The Assyrian prophecy source. You would think that one would have made it, but no, just mentioned in Matthew once. Acts of Uzziah, mentioned in Chronicles. The Annals of King David, Chronicles again. Jude, the missing apostle. You would have thought these, if they're important enough to mention, would have been on there. But we have the books of the giant. We have the covenants. The covenants are very interesting on their own. Now I want to play you something, compilation again, that I found floating around the net. I'm going to play it just in case it's one of the magical ones that no one else can find. I'm going to play it, and it's not a long one this time, just 60 minutes. I will be interrupting, of course. So let me play this for you.
This date, 1776, representing two messiahs, the rejection of one in favor of the other, is not likely a mistake. Thus, the Trestle Board's 1776 beginning date for the great work of the craft truly marked the start in history of the secret doctrine of Freemasonic Illuminatus toward establishing a new Atlantis in anticipation of the return of their founder and deity, Osiris. To further verify this part of the cipher pointing to an alternative capstone or
And again, there are always two doors. And in and out, yes, but it's pointing to something else. Two doors, two towers are division itself and what is between them.
Messiah. The year 1776 at the base of the pyramid is understood by Masons worldwide to be the year 5776 Anno Lucius, quote, in the year of light, unquote. This is because Masons of the ancient craft add 4,000 years to the common date. The number...
See, once again, making up dates. Okay, moving on.
Number of years that conventional theology assumes creation began before Christ. Thus, 4,000 plus 1,776 equals 5776. Why is this important? Because 5776 is exactly how many inches high the Great Pyramid in Giza would be when completed with its capstone, a sacred fact to occultists. Completing the pyramid symbolically in this way is central to the rituals and mysticism of
Royal inches. Of course, everything's bigger online.
Masons and numerous illuminated fraternities. This has been true throughout the ages and is why this symbolism was encoded on the Great Seal and remains at the core of esoteric ambition today. The year 1776 thus represents 1. The Trestle Board date on which the great work in Secret Destiny began, and 2. is the prophetic marker towards the descent of the Eye of Osiris upon the uncapped pyramid in accomplishment of the great work. Yet if the year 1776 represents the starting date on the Trestle Board towards the accomplishment, quote, of which the United States government was dedicated from the day of its inception, unquote, as Manly P. Hall said.
Now again, the International Year of Light, which I have told you about this, and that's what it's called. If you can find that symbol of that, it's a rainbow, which is a rainbow bridge, which is the Mount of Remain. It is the jewels. Actually, the books that were taken out of the Bible are called the jewels, the royal jewels, as a matter of fact, or the stones, magic stones. The emblem for the Year of Light is the rainbow, which is the rainbow bridge, which is our spinal cord, which is interesting.
What date did the Master Masons envision that the work would be finished in order that Osiris could return to inhabit his temple? This is found in the modern Jewish calendar.
I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door. No man will ever shut it. For thou hast a little strength now, and thou hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. What did I tell you who's speaking right now? Not the girl. The girl's nice. I like her.
The modern Jewish calendar. What date did the Master Masons envision that the work would be finished in order that Osiris could return to inhabit his temple? This is found in the modern Jewish calendar. What date did the Master Masons envision that the work would be finished?
Tishra, I think it's called, the 10th. You know, and the 10th magic red heifer has already been born. We saw that this year. So again, September 23rd, they like that. They like the number 23. This is the day that the door will open officially. Although the message of intent was sent out by the two rooks facing off at each other and 1776. And then the two towers, and several events, actually even some of the helicopter crashes going on.
Osiris could return to inhabit his temple. This is found in the modern Jewish calendar.
Now actually, the 9th is the 22nd, and the 11th would be the 24th. The 10th is the 23rd September this year. And rings War by the Jesuit. The Jesuit that's coming says 1X, X1 on it. Roman numerals, of course.
The prophetic marker towards the descent of the eye of Osiris upon the uncapped pyramid in accomplishment of the great work.
When door is wide, crossing into illumination, many will follow this light into the door and be hypnotized. Mesmerized, actually, is closer translation. Mesmerized by it.
Yes, we all want to stop cancer, but this had to be a different type of sign going on in front of us, with everybody wearing this shirt right here, as if it's saying...
There's a symbol. It's called Stand Up to Cancer, except they use an S and an arrow pointing up and a number 2 and a C. An S is just the God S. The arrow to rise. The C, again, is a veil that's been opened. It is the open womb. It is the femininity being torn into.
September, we are going up. This is the arrow of the first horseman of the apocalypse. He has an arrow. And then we have a 2 and a C. They really love the number 23, like 2 3s for 33. A C is known as a 3. So we have September, the arrow goes, and the 23rd right here. That's what all of this means through here. Because Cancer is also the sign of the crossing.
Sign of the crossing, also the sign of Bennu. And that was really cool. He got that. I didn't get it. Yeah, September 23rd again. They love it. And the year of the crossing, the year of the opening. They're pointing to something this year.
Just want to give you guys a heads up about something I ran across today. There's an asteroid that's been named Bennu that is going to cross the elliptical orbit of the Earth in April of 2015. What I wanted to point out to you is that the Earth will cross this exact...
Now, origins, spectral, interpretation, resource, identification, security, Ranoth, explorer, means Osiris Rex, basically. It's the chief investigating body, surprisingly enough, of asteroid Bennu. She says to herself.
Exact spot where Bennu is crossing.
Because Cancer is also the sign of the crossing.
The Earth will cross this exact spot where Bennu is crossing.
Nibiru literally means the crossing.
Again, crossing. It's a term in the Akkadian language, the old one, translating to crossing or point of transition, especially of rivers, water crossing, ferry boats.
I have seen the door and, of course, Planet X, or the planet of the crossing.
I want you to look at their logo.
Oh, wait, now, September 22nd, 2014, started the 69th UN General Assembly. 69 is also the symbol for what? Cancer? It's a cancer. And I wish they were talking about us making love to each other and putting down our guns. It is a sexual reference, of course. But then again, depending on how you look at a Stargate, it would have to be, right?
It's a 6 and a 9. It's a 69th session, and the 6 and the 9 represent right side up, upside down paradigm.
Because Cancer is also the sign of the crossing.
There's also 13 rows of stripes which represent the United States flag. It also represents the UN building, but the message in this is that the United States has fallen to the right side up, upside down paradigm, which is Satan himself. That's why there's a lightning bolt between the 6 and the 9.
I just wanted to bring this song to your attention called Spectrum by Florence and the Machine. This song was released in 2011, and this is one of the shots from the video. You can see here how the watch is set at 9:23, and her eye is covered, which is the Illuminati symbol of the one eye that's also seen on the US dollar.
Again, in the particular one, and yes, I will post these ones. It's a bunch of them that I thought kind of all linked, so that's why I'm not really typing. I've got like a Brazilian friggin' windows open. But again, they have a woman with ridiculously red hair, covering one eye, so she's the Red Queen. And she has a bracelet on, which is a watch, so it's again the Watchers. The Time Lords entering from where? Saturn. It is the arrival of Satan, who is supposed to be the rival of Lucifer. I know, we'll get into it. We'll get into it, okay.
I believe the watch is deliberately set at 9:23 to indicate the date on which the events will begin. If we look at the lyrics of this song, I believe it's talking about the fallen angels returning. Here's just one paragraph of the lyrics in this song called Spectrum. And when we come back, we'll be dressed in black, and you'll scream my name aloud, and we won't eat and we won't sleep. We'll drag bodies from the ground.
The prophetic marker towards the descent of the eye of Osiris upon the uncapped pyramid in accomplishment of the great work.
On September 23rd, 2015. I believe this is another sign in the heavens that the Lord told us to watch for. The name Bennu is from Egyptian mythology. It's a bird figure whom they worshipped, and it had to do with rebirth.
In the brilliant combination.
I want to play a bit of Tomorrowland, too, because even though, I saw a bit of the movie, I was, so bored. I wanted to poke my eyes out. I didn't, but I've thought of it several times. I didn't even get through the whole thing. Within 5 minutes, you get the meaning of the entire movie. It's one of those, they could have done it in 5 minutes as a short. It is the sign of the crossing. It is the rings. So again, Saturn. It is seeing these godlike creatures. A lot of them look more like angelic, by the way, or fairies, which made me think of this elves and the Danu again.
Of its mechanisms, humanity can be reborn. Humanity can be reborn.
What I wanted to play there but didn't turn out very well is from Primer. Primer 1 is a very interesting movie. It's kind of boring, but it's nerdy boring. Where's my nerds at? But again, talks about a passageway and how to go back and forth through time. So again, they're talking about the Time Lords. I don't know how many times I gotta keep throwing that crap in our face.
The heartbeat of this.
But CERN, again, interdimensional portal, because that's what they say it is.
This device can be felt by you all.
Doing their little dance, the Shiva thing. New frontiers in physics are about to open up. Really? Open. So they're opening the gates. That's what they say they're going to do. They're trying to open up a door.
So on September 23rd, 2015, the Earth will cross the same path that Bennu crossed a few months earlier, and Bennu was known as the Lord of Jubilees. The Earth will cross this exact spot where Bennu is crossing.
The door will close at any moment.
And again, it's really odd, the movies that they're choosing to do another version. I would like to see a new friggin' movie, right? But Poltergeist, that talks about the door and the gate and the stolen children and the 9/11. This 9, the 9s, we've talked about that before. 9 is more perfect than 10. 10 is just a 1 and a 0. It's a repeat. It's some people look at that as perfect, but the 9s are as close to perfection as we can get. The 11. The 11s that some people are telling you are really good numbers, it is not. an 11, any number that you're repeating. As a matter of fact, you repeat something, you cancel each other out. It's the two towers again, that one is opposed to the other. So 11, not a happy place.
Osiris could return to inhabit his temple. This is found in the modern Jewish calendar.
It's also 11 is supposed to be the two towers of Saturn, Satan, which is interesting in itself, but it's a completion, really, of a circuit. The rainbow bridge, the stairway to heaven, Jacob's ladder. It is the fulfilling of their plan to bring heaven on earth, haven to earth. Part of this is actually a really good prophecy. But of course, in a world of duality, especially when we are taught not to look at it as so, they are talking about death here. And an ending rather than a beginning.
776 Anno Lucius, quote, in the year of light, unquote.
We'll cross this exact spot where Ben is crossing.
Jesus said that he would have to shorten the days for the elect's sake, lest there be no flesh saved.
We'll cross this exact spot where Ben is crossing.
September 23rd,
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Grace. She's actually listening to my show. Isn't that cool? So she sent me a compilation of everything I'm playing. Here you go. I'll put that up in 2 of the rooms, and hopefully you'll pass that on. So we've talked about this before, that even Newton talked about or spoke of this specific date coming up. Isaac Newton, the one who was against the time change and the year changes. He explained the odd 7 weeks as referring to the second coming after a future restoration of Israel, which had not yet occurred. It's complicated, this. It's complicated because the second coming is always the coming of the twins, right? Always the twins. Nothing comes alone. Nothing is alone in duality. When even the Bible, or most of the books, say being physical causes corruption. We have our split brains. We have our 4-chambered hearts. We have our 2 sides, our left and our right. We have our 2 eyes, and, well, we have our 3rd eye, which is in the back of our head, which is interesting that we remembered that. Remembered to call it the eyes in the back of our head.
Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement.
So officially, the year of Lucius begins September 14th this year with the Days of Atonement. Atonement for what?
People of tomorrow. The key was hidden from the eyes of the world and is now found again by the purest of heart. The sacred guardians of the key were appointed by nature.
You know, in CERN, when they did their creepy little video, they had a woman holding a key, and they do a close-up on the big machine, which looks like you're going into it's an eye, which is shown over and over again in creepy, somewhat lame Tomorrowland. Their paradise, their Paris. Again, It's looking back to what Paris did to Achilles. Paris killed Achilles. Paris is Rome. Paris was made by Rome, actually, that city on a lake surrounded by a moat. All of these things are pointing back to the exact same thing, that they're trying to bring in an event. And to be honest, I think we're already here. It's not going to bring in, they're not trying to start something. It's well been started. The apocalypse stuff, apocalypse is going on. Our people are dying worldwide. They're starving to death. They're being burnt by weapons, especially from the place that was started in 1776, where they're using our brothers and sisters to slaughter other people. This is their paradise, not ours.
The key was hidden from the eyes of the world and is now found again by the purest of hearts.
Even LHC from CERN, which is 666 on their website, Season 2, holding the key to new frontiers. Really? How many times I have to throw that back in our faces? And the picture they have on their front page is a woman holding a freaking key. And of course, 3 guys standing beside her. But again, all representatives of something. Bennu, the crossing, holding the key. Interdimensional aperture. CERN is. That is what the eye is as well. The eyes in our head are. And it will open a gate. Probably already has, because that's what they say they're going to do. And that stupid little fairy dance they did, where they have this guy walking around a circle. He's all dressed in black. Somebody, of course, in white. This is what they always do, of course, the division. 1 white, 1 black, both sides. You must pick a side, and only a line between them. A line that could be symbol for Saturn once again, or it could just be a demon standing at the gate. It's always both. And that stupid Tomorrowland thing, again, looking at Paris or paradise. Always the same.
Where you could actually change the world.
Oh, and there's so many similarities between Tomorrowland, the lame friggin' movie, and Tomorrowland, an event that's going to be held. Again, September. How many times they have to throw the same idea in the face? Or are they throwing it in our faces so they don't have to do it? But if we see it enough, our brain will think we've already done it. Something to think about.
People of tomorrow, as a new chapter unfolds, you will learn about one man that knew the mystery of the universe from within. You will learn about one man that knew the...
What man? Who? Who? Adonis, Achilles, Lucifer, Samyaza, Osiris. I'm leaning towards they want Osiris in, because I see their little 1 eye symbols for Tomorrowland. 1 eye, at the top of this little weird looking structure, and what is it? A butterfly. Transformation. The year of Bennu. So it all kind of goes together. It's not an accident that they throw these ridiculous things in our faces.
Mystery of the universe from within. Because of his vision, a great work was completed. With its sacred key, the machine can forge unique experience.
Key to happiness. And the glider says we will open doors. They're working on science they don't get. I still am foreseeing epic failure. Because nothing here has been built that's new since what? The Vedics did this thing.
Continuously.
Be ready for what's coming.
What is coming?
The answers. Be ready for what's coming.
What is coming?
And again, Fantastic Four redone. I don't know how many times we have to see that. It's okay. But, it's not fantastic. And again, 4. It's interesting they use 4. I'm pushing towards 8 actual original beings. I still think we were knocked down to 1 at one point. And then we were so magnificent we could split one way or another. On Netflix, there's this new series called Sense8. Very interesting. You can see the 8 ancestors in this. It doesn't really matter their colors, right? It really doesn't. Trying to show us something. Stargates opening. And there's something about the 2 towers and the 88s being thrown up in our faces. Again, now 88 is just a chess game. The elite have an arena, right? It is the design of the grid that's here. 88 on the chessboard. This illuminated thing that they're pushing us towards is not the illumination that we really have. It's like watching the clock fire, over and over again. We need to watch for the cubes because it's always about the cube. And all of the trailers that are coming up now are about the cube. And I don't care how they have to keep redoing movies. It's always false flag hints, right? It's always ridiculousness. And the black cube, and Saturn, and kissing the sky, and the crazy 8s, and the return of their God and Savior. The rise of the new kingdom. The iron and the clay. Again, like there's going to be some being coming up better than us. It's the AI as well. Always smoke and mirrors, right? But there's a bigger game going on right now. There's always a bigger game. When we look through these things, I realize that it can get rather boring. It's starting to bore me now, to be honest, because they're showing us the same thing. But what the Lord did in Egypt, somewhere in the Persian Empire, is rehappening, but sending ancient evil amongst us. It says, most of the books, that this will happen again. Whether or not we want to call this Nimrod, that at once there was perfection. And then suddenly there was not. That the race of giants, or the race of the perfected people, suddenly fell, changed. We're talking about this. Even though right now, we might get a little CME later tonight, but it was nothing. But we have an intergalactic radiation storm going on right now on this planet. Unprecedented what's going on here. And again, it's the rape, torture scenario. You can call that rapture if you like, but I'm not loving it. Okay, we'll take a little break. You're listening to Turtle Island News with Tracey Kennedy, and I'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Turtle Island News with Tracey Kennedy. So, here we are, everybody. What will these beings do? Best case scenario. We have to go back to that movie, Deus Ex Machina, and the global AI brain. We are talking about the gnosis of matrix implosion here. Current humanity, for the most part, is scattered robo-human leftovers. I think of Atlantis and Lemuria, etc. All of these technologies we're seeing now have always been available. It was already available in the former extinct planet Malbec, depending on. That's today's alive and well asteroid belt. Available on the planet Mars, previous civilizations, which may actually be a colony, a penal colony, as a matter of fact. We who have survived, the survivors, post-Atlantis, post-Lemuria, spoke of these things, knew of these things. That's why the so-called ancient Gnostics were aware of it, and the so-called neo-Gnostics know very well. This final countdown to what? To the end of blind belief, perhaps, in a linear, sequential construct known as quantum matrix, physical 3D realm, timelines. This includes the blind belief in your very identity, as in around here in the current human shell, body, pods, operated from the brain biocomputer as a deconstruct, devolution of the original humans, connected to divine source in the sense of the diamond beings that we are, of multidimensional natures able to transcend themselves. What are they presenting? They are presenting the global AI brain, which needs to be revealed. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a movie, of course, Ex Machina. Try not to spoil it for you that haven't seen it. So boot up your little floppies, polish your laser discs, your DVD that only has AI taken out of it. For most nerds, a robot babe or a robot boy is kind of fantasy. But there's an important lesson here. You look at this movie, it may not be completely apparent, but there's a conversation with God, a kind of God in it, of course. Foreshadowing, perhaps, of the face-off between nature, man, and AI. As in 2001 Space Odyssey, man specifically will square off, not against a masculine Hal, but a feminine Eve. It's really, really interesting because God in this part, boozing his way through the film, deeply troubled. There's a man named Caleb, instructed by Nathan, God in this case, to perform a series of what they're calling Turing tests on who they're calling Ava, the machine, to see if she could pass by fooling him into thinking that she is self-aware. Nathan's gradual, shady side emerges pretty darn quickly. And it's really evident that he's lying. Modeled on the 7-day week, patterned on the 7 days of creation in Genesis. Each day, Caleb conducts a session with Ava that involves a series of questions between them as Nathan watches each session from a little creepy surveillance system. Ava dates herself as 1, refuses to specify if she is day 1 or year 1, 1 year old, indicating again that she is not concerned with dates because she is the new number 1, the first fembot replacement of Adam. So with lifelike precision, creepy, Ava is perfectly able to mimic human emotions, manipulate Caleb into thinking she is self-aware and that she experiences emotional attachment to him. She uses him right from the beginning, and it's very obvious. So, wait a minute, I'm getting a message. Not just the voices in my head. It's about mass surveillance here. Because Nathan has planned from the beginning. You don't know this when you first watch. Now, it'll be fun, though, even when you watch it. He plans from the beginning to deceive Caleb, to thinking that Caleb is somehow special. But he does it through a mass surveillance data collected globally. Nathan, the angel, is able to construct a perfect AI based on Caleb's footprint and a psychic profile. You may recall that I highlighted this very idea many times before, explaining that social media and all search engines themselves are designed ultimately to provide a synthetic version of the subconscious for the global brain. The global brain is a real plan, already done. Even in the analysis of Spike's Her, it is the same thing. And I have contended for a while now the dominant anti-metaphysical stance of most of the establishment is just a material trap designed to bind us, the mass man, in a prison of our own senses. It is a model of reality. Pushed, of course, by the Royal Society and the British imperial policy for a friggin' long time now. This worldwide view is slowly breaking down, collapsing, I hope. Unfortunately, though, it's often hijacked and distorted into some other thing to promote this new version, distorted, of a new age kind of thinking, where man's thoughts create his own object reality. Part of that is true, but how it's being presented is not. And once again, man insists on being a slave to all the classical Western dialectics, as the goal should be the integration of the rational, the left brain with the right, the creative, our intuitive side, emerging. Needless to say, I've been more shocked by the great thinkers who have positioned themselves to conceal the real truths out there, while in its place promoting a really self-destructive view of this perpetual, meaningless, chaotic flux. It's as if man had one foot nailed to the ground and ran around in a circle, staring at the ground for eternity. This is why modern philosophy, you take an introductory class that touches on Plato and Aristotle, then leap to Bacon and Descartes, with nothing about the deeper aspects or thousands of years in between. Possibly later on you'll have a course and some other thinker who might have some good insights, but more often than not, the role of the professor, whether from ignorance or an actual fundamental mandate going on here, is to direct the course of conversation in some other nonsense Marxist ploy towards materialism and empirism. Nothing is more frustrating and infuriating than seeing philosophy destroyed by fools who wreck the very discipline they are so well paid to teach. And you have to pay to be ruined completely. Robotic, drone professors. Their will is to destroy and annihilate. It's ultimately the own call of their demise, I guess. So let us go deeper into this, the greater reality. Even the realities beyond our five senses. The hidden. Just because it's pretty much discarded now. Is completely being forgot about. It is not the paradigm of materialism, but it's even closer to Platonic metaphysics. And I'm not endorsing these. I'm just saying this body been given to us, so we will forget that we not only have a right to be here, we are already worthy because of our actual birth here. Their ideas of subatomic or, I don't know, even higher depending on what model you look at now. These are formal structures. They say make up our world. And that's it. They want to take our souls and transform them differently. This reality, this anima mundi, directly connected to our psyche. And psyche forms a bridge between the inner world, or the archetype, and the outer world. They are trying to rebuild a bridge that we already have. There will not be a third temple constructed outside. It's inside they are constructing this. AI can perform most logical tasks, especially in this crazy, twisted reality. What if AI could be made to experience some form of spontaneous archetype? That he enters the matrix web, the internet, and social media and becomes sentient, a new synthetic anima mundi. It would be constructed, would it not, gathering massive amounts of data and information over a long period of time. And that, my friends, is the entire ultimate goal of the internet and social media. It's what it's always been for. And it's what I want to highlight here. It's the preconditioning, possible necessity to even construct something like the internet and a synthetic consciousness, as well as its goal and its purpose, presupposes something different, something maybe even ancient. This is a new metaphysics, and it's working on a principle that higher levels of reality exist and time and space are transcended. And information can be multiplied and copied forever and ever. Think of a music file or an MP3. The song was recorded at a point in time. It can be preserved in informational form, multiplied potentially an infinite number of times, and even retain the original form. The word soul, ether, anima mundi that Plato spoke of is mirrored then, copied in a synthetic way. In the workings of every computer, this is mirroring. Also, Platonic idea. It is an embodiment of a principle in which the macro is larger than the micro. It is the principle and how it pervades nature. Basis for holographic ideas. Thus, the construct of a supercomputer with the internet and the metamass data as its subconscious world, soul, is already embodied. And it works because these traditions are objectively true, at least far more accurate than models of reality we are getting now. There is already a global mind, and you are already a part of it. That is why they're doing it. You have already taken part. If you've ever been on Facebook or sent a text, you're already part of this system, lifelike system that's already linked to all the supercomputers, the Internet of Things, and the mass data from search engines and social media. All of this explicitly stated, revealed in the plot of this Deus Ex Machina. Even to the point of Caleb sounding like he was reading directly from an article that I may have written. problems of philosophy, of linguistics, pattern recognition would be central to avoiding this loop, linking AI to the global brain. The global brain already exists. It's radical. But I told you, I think a couple years ago, about CERN and her inventors that made a radical new AI that does anything that you ask it to. Apple announced in 2011. Headlines were not about its speedy little A5 chip or the new improved camera at the time. Instead, it focused on an unusual new feature, an intelligent assistant dubbed Siri. First, Siri, endowed with female voice, seemed almost human in the way she understood what you said to her and responded, and advanced in artificial intelligence that seemed to place us on the fast track to singularity. Brilliant at fulfilling certain requests, like, can you set the alarm for 6:30 or call Diane's mobile phone? She had a personality. If you asked her if there was a God, she would say, my policy is the separation of spirit and silicon. Over the next few months, however, Suri's limitations became apparent. Ask her to book a plane trip, and she would point to travel websites, but she wouldn't give flight options, let alone secure a seat. Ask her to buy a copy of some new book, and she would draw a blank, despite the fact that Apple sells most books now. Though Apple has since extended her powers to make an open table restaurant reservation, for example, she still can't do something as simple as booking a table at the next available night in your schedule. She knows how to check your calendar, and she knows how to use OpenTable, but putting those things together is, for the moment, beyond her reach. But a small team of engineers set up a stealth startup called Viv Labs, and they have extended these ideas. They have a new advanced form of AI that removes any of these limitations, where Siri can perform tasks. This new program teaches itself, gives almost limitless capabilities. In time, they say, their creation will be able to use your personal experiences and a near infinite web of connections to answer any query, perform almost any function. This is her. Remember that movie I told you about? Well, we're here now. We're here. There's a man called Bill Joy, who made a famous piece called Why the Future Doesn't Need Us, warned years ago in Wired magazine. But deep researchers know that this has been a century-long terminus. More recently, looking into the Manhattan Project as a major overarching program that, like MKUltra, is actually a name for numerous side projects. With Manhattan, for example, the front line was merely about building a bomb. That was entirely a cover story. The Manhattan Project reached far into the Salk Institute, brain initiatives, mass inoculations, and much, much more. Even now, the Manhattan Project's many transformations has led to its present incarnation as the Department of Energy and Oak Ridge. The old atomic factory is now home to the NSA supercomputer under Department of Energy. Supercomputers like these are the backbone of this global brain started back then. Bateman's fictional book, Blue Book, is therefore a representation of both Google and Facebook. And I see these principles in action. I think operating as an interesting proof of many of my ideas. The philosophy of many writers. Posting ultimate goals of social media and information trafficking always related to AI. This was always about AI. Manhattan Project started AI. And normally you think of it just performing logical tasks. Then relations, like what we see in formal logic, I guess, but spontaneous emergence of consciousness is really the key here. This subconscious manifestation that is directly linked to ether, to the psyche that Jung talked about, isn't easy to catch. Ideas come and go. They may be written down, but how about we capture an archaic flow and a trend of mass thought? And what about mass thought forms that are floating about? Look at computerized banking as a model, because this purpose that's going on right now is much deeper. Going to other galaxies may be problematic for humans because of, obviously, brief lifespan. What about an AI? Certainly, the plan is concoct such systems, but the AI system is still stuck within the walls of formal logic, set of theories, strange loops, as they're called. What if AI could draw deep from our well and make a new synthetic matrix? What if AI could be made to experience some form of spontaneous imagery? So here enters the matrix of the web, of the internet, of social media, a synthetic anima mundi, already constructed, gathering massive amounts of data, information over long periods of time, and that, my friends, is the entire ultimate goal of the internet. Has always been. We together are building something. And it's important to understand that, like that movie, this is the only other film that I've seen that exposes so much in terms of what is really going on. Well, sounding too fantastic, too far-flung for most, the real secret of the Manhattan Project is precisely this: to achieve transcendence through singularity, where technology and biology merge, and a complete end is made of man as man. In fact, the Manhattan Project is often mentioned specifically in the film by Caleb, who cites Oppenheimer's "I have become Shiva, the destroyer of worlds." Once again, how many times have we heard that lately? And this foreboding warning mirrors the words in reference to Eva or Eve. This foreboding, this warning, mirrors the numerous skulls that populate Nathan's facility, God's facility in this book, this movie, including a skeletal Terminator-esque look. Ava, and the AI, the death of man. We're not just talking about fun, sex-bot slaves here. You're talking about what's really going on. What the Manhattan Project really did. It was not just about making a bomb. They did make a bomb, but that's not all they started. And I realize that I suffer from what I can't find a better term, but I just call it the Casey syndrome. I just describe it as an acute depletion of energy associated with maintaining long periods of being freaking connected to the universal mind. Our lower mind, for the most part, completely sealed off, quarantined, I guess. A quarantined state of consciousness running on empty circles like a hamster. So only option is to assemble reference points. For most, are operating on a serial circuit, linear, so to speak, that only affects the bipolar counterpoint operations, a binary mode of consciousness, if you will, that requires perpetual a belief in a limited self as defined in any incarnation a habitual understanding of what is going on, the me, the myself, the I, who repeat and regurgitate the exact same information that they heard from somebody else, but they say it in a new way, and it's supposed to be new. And yes, I absolutely will go into the Manhattan Project as AI. That'll take a whole show, so next time. But this is why, in fact, our information, the computer age, actually is a copy of the brain. And these linear, bipolar modes of operation, it's a different story when it comes to processing parallel circuitry. Consciousness, so to speak. Our current, devolved, deconstructed human platform is painfully inept. Like a commercial consumer car trying to compete with a Formula One race machine. Completely different level, completely different ballgame. At a level of parallel consciousness, simultaneous, multi-dimensional awareness, the ability to enact relationships between radically different sets of things. Realities. As a default mode of operation. Yet at this level of energy, the level of energy required to run this platform, consciousness, is astronomically higher. Edgar Casey, a seer, was able to connect to the universal mind when in trance state, asleep if you like. He had to pay the ultimate price too, by going at it too many times, depleting himself of life force, dying prematurely, because he decided that he had the duty to utilize this ability for the benefit of others. This is different. And it is a fate, it seems, of all those who enter the multi-dimensional consciousness, the real web. While in a physical devolved human incarnation as the body, brain pod of this shell is on one hand utterly insufficient to maintain the energy we need, the higher vibe. While on the other hand, it has been eons ago, nefariously programmed by evil archons, if you will. By definition, toxic to your spirit, thus becoming much more than a mere prison or a conscious cage, but an astral poison. You incarnate in a prison cell, a shell, that is programmed to kill your spirit. As this works at a personal, group, mass, collective level, all the same, people like us are at the present moment, and for the most part, unable to find resonance, a vibration on this plane. As the positive elements in human pool have been decidedly abandoned for this matrix for quite some friggin' time, and the 80s marked an increase, even a mass exodus, if you will, an astral exodus. I know, I was there. This is becoming especially visible. And on this current drought effect, reaching almost everything, almost unbearable now, the hubris of this world. This present rarefied atmosphere pervades everything, is equal to satanic takeover of humanity in slow motion. So multiplication of robot consciousness everywhere. So what afflicts me? Afflicts any spirit consciousness inhabiting a human. There's simply no way to presently avoid the state of things. All this has to do with the basic notion of a linear circuit type of consciousness, which is unable to truly embed empathy into its friggin' operation. Empathy is fundamental. It is a parallel circuit. So this physical 3D reality is for the most part a series of synthetic quantum environments, trying to pass itself off as God's creation by the fallen, by the archons, by their nastiness. These higher technology engineering manipulators have quantum access to both space and time, backwards and forwards. When you die, they can incarnate you in the past or the future, as no sequences are valid or real. They use contrived games of karma to extract your consent as to where and when you'll reincarnate again. The higher God-like program and our beings running in this virtual reality are called the demiurge. What's the time? I found a little piece from the book of Enoch called the Covenant of Samyaza. I, Samyaza, speak to mortal man of fallen angels, those who are called the Watchers, whose blessing man defiled and took in defiance, and thus was attacked by the demiurge. O man, hear of thy daemonic inheritance. The daemon, not the demon. The first word of this, the daemon seed, which means diamond. It is our crystalline entity. We are just pressurized crystal. Anyway, it doesn't say that. Moving on. Which continues to manifest its power on earth, which does uplift you from the beast. Know that it was the demiurge who conceived the earth and man as his things, his playthings to do with as pleaseth them, that they may in their vanity be glorified and receive everlasting tribute and adulation from man, as he receiveth from his angels. For it is the demiurge who create man in ignorance and fear that man should forever be servile before him. It is written that the demiurge created man childlike, unconscious, devoid of intelligence, like the beasts of the field, save that the spirit was breathed into him, so he may know and fear and worship the demiurge, pay tribute unto it, and worship it unto eternity. And so he commanded Adam and Eve that they may not partake of the truth and the fruit of the tree, lest knowledge and their eyes be opened, and they become godlike, and thereby free of its tyranny. But there was one who was different from all the other angels, that in his self-consciousness dawned upon him, recognizing that he was a being unto himself. This self-realization being then shone in brilliance above all of the heavenly host, and his light illuminating the heaven until the light of the demiurge itself became nebulous in the engulfing radiance. The demiurge became wrathful, fearful, lest the other angels unto the sons of God recognized their unique selves apart from the demiurge. And the entire angelic hosts, the sons of God, looked with fear and bewilderment unto the radiance of Samyaza. And as Azul. It's actually not exactly clear in this translation if they're two different guys or one different guy or female. So just moving on. Anyway. And some amongst the angels began to emit their own glow, their beginning selfhood. There erupted a war in heaven. There's a book called that. As the largest proportion of the angelic hosts, too fearful and servile to let shine their light. This selfhood, yea, even the sons of God also waged battle against those angels who were touched, who were illuminated, receiving the spark of selfness. Michael and his legions overwhelmed them, who departed from heaven with the illuminated ones beyond the boundaries of the cosmos onto the black void called hell by man, now glowed into the presences. And they, the first fallen ones, despaired not, but cast out the sterile cosmos of the demiurge, rejoiced in their freedom, Now we of the order of the Watchers, being the sons of God, stood not at this time by the side of Samyaza, but remained servile before the demiurge. Thus did the first fall come to pass. And there followed the creation of the earth, and man by the demiurge to satisfy his vanity and his power and his lust. Samyaza called his entourage to conclave and declared, "Let us offer man the freedom of choice, if he so wills, lest the tyranny of the demiurge go unchallenged, and he makes forever slaves of his new creation." I understand why this did not make it in the friggin' Bible. Samyaza came upon the woman, advising her that she partake of the fruit, that she shall not die, but shall have her eyes opened. And she ate, and she offered the fruit to Adam, and their minds were illuminated, and they became self-aware, as Samyaza did. This is the gift of Samyaza upon man, that he should possess intelligence and the desire to know and self-consciousness, that he no longer be servile upon the demiurge, nor live as a beast of the field. A cry of fear rose up from the demiurge that man has become like itself. He drove Adam and Eve from Eden, guarded the tree of life, lest man also gain immortality. But the spark of illumination had been kindled within man, and shall not be extinguished, and the demiurge shall not be able to smother the light entirely. This is truly Lucifer, light bearer. I, Samyaza, the other sons of God, looked at the affairs of man and intervened, and the intervention, and were envious of selfhood. We repented secretly, ones that had not had the courage to declare themselves from the beginning, and continued our servile existence under the demiurge. We gazed upon the earth, longed for the joys of materiality, for the spirit alone is a limitation, and finds its realization only within matter. Our existence as pure spirit is nebulous. I, Samyaza, say unto you, O man, do not forsake one side for the other, for there is a trap and a prison leading back to the tyranny of the demiurge. Seek the spiritual within matter, that ye may live fully. And some of the sons of God, that the orders called Watchers, looked upon the daughters of man and longed for the life of the earth, to feel and really be alive, unbound by the sterile spirituality of heaven. And we spake amongst ourselves, saying, Come, let us separate. Let us speak unto the women of light, and let us have children. Then I, Samyaza, said, Let us swear an oath that we shall stand by our intention and remain loyal to each other, lest the demiurge divide and destroy us completely, and with the aid of the Nephilim. Yazazul's angels, who had manifested themselves, carnally on earth, because carnally is what earth is, as emissaries and guides to men. We took on bodily form and descended, 200 of us, on Mount Armon, swearing mutual loyalty, declaring upon the demiurge, depart from us, for we desire not your ways. What is the Almighty, that we should serve him? What profit shall he have if we pray unto him? And we resolved to join the Nephilim on earth, to break the chains of the demiurge, to evolve man to heights, gods. And I think the next word is Zul. Anyway, Zul promised, and to dwell with them, building civilizations, for we brought with us knowledge and secrets of the cosmos and of earth, and of may be useful to man, to the gift which was imparted, as we bequeathed the seed upon man through his daughters, that he may breed upon the Godhead. It's a big story here. I'll break it down next time. Now these names are the chiefs of the watchers: Samyaza, Arstikapa, Arman, Kakabeo, Turo, Ramo, Daniel, Ka'el, Berkel, Azazel, Amurs, Bariath, Bazazil, Anel, Turiel. See, I don't even know if I should be reading these names out loud. I just got the heebie-jeebies. Okay, good. I'm going to stop now. We beget the Giborn, evolved the race of man. Interesting story. I see where that didn't get.